So as I'm looking at the draft class for 2026, I'm going through kind of looking at some individuals that piqued my interest, and I am looking at a lot of the prospects and kind of sitting down and finally getting to look at these guys, seeing what they're all about. Um, again, I will have an updated mock draft coming out soon. In a couple of weeks, I'm hoping like in the next week or two, I'll have another updated mock draft from the last one you saw at the weekend. And if you didn't see it at the weekend, I will link the mock draft down in the description box of this video, so you can go back and watch it. But I am gonna heavily update my draft pick and really kind of give you an updated version of what I think. So again, I think I've gotten an idea of where I think some of these guys are going to land, and where I think I would personally draft them myself. Now again, are the head coaches or the GMs or the team presidents going to listen to me? No. But I'm just the guy that talks about shit on the internet, so whatever. So today's scout report, we're scouting again a guy that I've been looking at, especially with the Lions' horrible defense. I've been looking at Peter Woods because again, 2024 and 2025 we haven't fixed that defense for the Lions. Our defense side of the ball stinks. I don't care if it's Aaron Glenn being your defensive coordinator or Kelvin Shepard being your defensive coordinator. Both guys didn't help themselves when they were doing defensive calls for the past 2 years. We definitely need to look at the defense side of the ball, and that's why I'm looking at Peter Woods. Defensive line from Clemson. The games I watched him on tape were from Georgia Tech, Syracuse, North Carolina, South Carolina, Boston College, Duke, Georgia, and Louisville. So let's talk about his strengths. Like again, he's 6'3", 315 pounds. So he's quite a big guy. And he's got he's built as a kind of to maintain like the lower pad level, and he's got an elite level, an elite leverage, and which again makes it kind of difficult for me, especially when you're like 315 pounds. But again, he still has like that elite leverage about him. And the other thing that I saw on his tape was that his explosiveness, like he possesses a rapid get off and allowing him to penetrate to the backfield instead of like winning gaps before blockers. He's also he's very versatile as well. And I think when you look at Peter Woods, you're looking at it again. You're hoping that whoever he goes to in this 2026 draft, that you need to pick what position he's truly going to be in. And is he going to be like a 3? Is he going to play in like a 3 technique in that defense? And if so, he's going to be more like a nose tackle type deal, and that's what I think that's what I think he's probably best as a nose tackle. And then when he's a nose tackle, he can run stiffer, and then he can be better in the interior as a pass rusher. I think if you play him as that 3 technique, if you put him into a 3 technique, or I think the best position for him is like a nose tackle type deal, where again he's good at basically both playing as a 3 technique and a nose tackle, but nose tackle what he does his best work, and he can do really good stuff when he can be really stiff on the run game, and he's great at being an interior pass rusher, so he can really get at the defense. One thing I saw about his team, very active, very like this with his hands, like very heavily active with his hands, and again that helps him like shred block, act quickly, which I did like about his tape. He's got a high motor, and he's like doing over like 42 pressures per game, so it's not bad. Kind of weaknesses here, what you could look at is like his limited sack production is really low. His sack production is pretty low. He's only had like 5 sacks in 2025. So if you're really looking at it, like I wouldn't really say he's a first round pick just off his limited sack production numbers. Like you're looking at a guy who's 315 pounds, 6'3", 315 pounds, and when his sack production numbers are not are nowhere near where his physical tools are, that's kind of a big concern. Now again, you could possibly coach that, but how big he is as a guy and as a defensive, as a pass edge rusher, as a pass rusher, like he should be putting up more productive numbers on the sack level, especially with how he's built as a nose tackle. I think he should be putting up better numbers than just 5 sacks in an entire season. This is an entire season where he puts up 5 sacks a season. Big concern number 2 is he has kind of like, again, he possesses shorter arm length, which can allow him to be swallowed up by offensive tackle. I saw that a lot of that on tape, which again, his arm length, again, you cannot do a lot about that, but that's one of the things that's going to really hold him back from being a day 1 pick, I think, because when you're going up against elite level offensive linemen in the NFL, you're not going to get away with it like more at college. And his short arm length, he's going to be absolutely just getting swallowed up, and he's going to be, and then in return you're going to have Peter Woods. He's going to be giving up a ton of penalties on that defense, and you're not going to, he's going to be basically just getting turned over a ton of times, giving away too many penalties because he's not playing better football, because again his arm length's just too short. And he's getting isolated by all the offensive linemen. And then it's like kind of like 2 more here that I kind of picked up on his tape, was that he sometimes struggles to counter after his initial move to stop, and kind of, this is kind of like in the Trevor Gooseby kind of scout report I did, but he'll sometimes struggle to counter after his initial move, and then he'll kind of he'll abandon his discipline, and then which can lead to like missed tackles, and like I said, with the whole giving away penalties and stuff like that. So yeah, he needs to kind of work on his technique and consistency. And then the last thing that I picked up on his tape was he kind of lacks an elite bend, which again, an elite bend as a nose tackle, which can again maybe handicap his ceiling, because again he could if he works on his flexibility and his technique and consistency, and he just does work better on his sack productions, like the ceiling as a pass rusher in the NFL, there's a big ceiling he could get to if he just basically works better at his production numbers. If if he's better with his technique and consistency when he's countering the offense and the offensive linemen, and then just his flexibility. I think again he's a lack of being an elite, bending around the offense and trying to get at them. That's going to really stop him to be a true top level and pass rusher in this league. But saying all that, I do think there's a lot of things. I think he's only 21, 22, so he is super young. But he probably would have to sit for a year. I wouldn't put him in a team that really needs a lot of work. Like you couldn't put him in to the Titans or the Browns or the Jets or the Giants. Teams that need heavily work on that side of the ball. You would have to put him in with somebody, maybe like the Chiefs or somebody. Like maybe he goes to the Chiefs, or he goes to Seattle, or somewhere where again he can learn for a year, and then maybe 2020, and then he has a couple of cameos. But I don't think he will be a starter again if he goes to the Lions. I'm concerned about him with his short arm length and his especially sack productions. That again, with the only guy that, again, the problem we've had, that's a problem we've had for a long time. Like the only guy that's putting up good sack numbers for the Lions is Aiden Hutchinson. He's putting like 7.5, and then you're having Peter Woods, if he comes in, he's putting up just 5 sacks per game in an entire season. And yeah, I just feel like, to me, my overall thoughts on Peter Woods from Clemson is he's probably going to be a late day 1 pick, like a late day 2 pick, where I think he would thrive better if he was just in a, if he was in a Seattle, or if he was in, if he was at 49 or so, if he was with the Chiefs, like somewhere where you can hide him away. but you can give him some cameos to get him some reps, because again, if he's learning behind a Nick Bolton or a Chris Jones, or if he's in Seattle under Mike McDonald, like, I think that's the best thing for him, because he's learning under some great defensive minds like a Deborah Witherspoon. I think he'd be great kind of with those kind of guys. But that's just my opinion. And again, if you've seen Peter Woods on tape, tell me if I've missed anything about his tape that you want to talk about. Again, hype up the video, guys. Subscribe, like it, comment, interact with the channel, and yeah, thanks guys, bye.